Well, we've been in a series for the past, this is actually our second message in the series called Christmas Nightmares. And how many of you know that Christmas time, the holiday season, can sometimes not be so holly and jolly, right? You know, I've actually heard that there's been studies in that, like, the suicide rate goes up, the depression rate goes up, because not everybody has the perfect family or the perfect situation. And each Christmas is different, right? I mean, sometimes one Christmas can be great and the next can be a nightmare, right? Flat tires, breakups, no money, right? No family to spend the holidays with. Difficult family to spend the holidays with, right? Freak accidents, all kinds of things can change the holidays dramatically. But sometimes the nightmare is caused by us. You see, Christmas can become a nightmare because we fall into the trap of comparison and meism. How many of you found that to be true? You know, we walk around and the way that we view the holidays, the way that we view each other, it's just kind of all about me, right? What am I getting? You know, that's a big one, right? Who's going to buy me that gift that I really want, right? Who's thinking about me? Who's going to send me that Christmas card? I sent out my Christmas cards. Where's my Christmas cards back, right? Who's going to invite me to their Christmas party? Why didn't I get invited to that Christmas party, right? Who's going to come over to my house for Christmas? Right? That's a big one for families, right? You know, the big battle. Are you going to come over to my house? Or are you going to go over to their house? Or what's going to happen? There's too many people around me while I'm trying to shop at the mall, right? There are too many people on the road while I'm trying to get wherever I'm going, right? Why can't my family be like their family? There's just so much meism about Christmas. But I think the worst is how we view gifts. It's that attitude of, what am I getting? Christmas becomes all about me. But here's the question. I mean, gifts become the big thing at Christmas, right? Wouldn't you agree? I mean, we have the Black Friday, the lines at the mall. I can't believe this, man. I keep forgetting that there's all this stuff at the mall or Walmart. And so, I'm thinking, I'm just going to go over there, zip over there and pick something up, for the house. And I go over there, I'm like, I can't find a parking space. I'm like, it's never like this. What's going on? And it's crazy. It's all about shopping, right? Shopping for the gifts. But what is Christmas really all about? I think that's the question we have to ask ourselves. What is Christmas? Why do we even celebrate Christmas? Because I think we often lose sight of that. I mean, what is Christmas? Well, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you, okay? Christmas is celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. Celebrating it's his birthday, right? So let me ask you this. How would Jesus like us to celebrate his birthday? Because honestly, I think we sometimes miss it. I really do. I think we get it wrong. I think we're so busy buying gifts for people that already have enough. I think we're so busy worrying about what we're going to get or what's going to happen with us that we miss how Jesus would want us to spend his birthday. How can we honor him? Well, I think we can learn a little bit about how Jesus would want us to spend our Christmas by looking at that first Christmas. Because believe it or not, that first Christmas, we have the little nativity scenes, right? We got one out there, and it looks so sweet, right? But if you really look at that story, it was kind of a nightmare, right? I mean, just look at this here. Let's read this here. Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 7. And it says this: at that time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. This was the first census taken when Quirinius was governor of Syria. All returned to their own ancestral towns to register for the census. So just so you understand what a census is, a census is the times where they count the people so they know how much taxes to expect, right? They know who to tax, they know who owes what, right? It's all for taxation purposes, right? So Joseph and Mary, right, they have to travel to Joseph's hometown in Bethlehem, right? Now imagine that Mary is 9 months pregnant. Talk about a nightmare, right? They didn't have comfy cars. They didn't have an SUV, right? She was literally on a donkey. That's got to be rough, right? That's the nightmare, okay? That's where it starts. But not only did they have to travel while she was pregnant, but Jesus' parents were poor. Look at this. In Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 7, it says, and because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go to Bethlehem in Judea, David's ancient home. He traveled there from the village of Nazareth in Galilee. Just so you understand this whole line of David thing, Joseph, Jesus' surrogate father, was a descendant of the old King David. You guys know the story, David and Goliath and all that kind of stuff, David and Bathsheba. That's him, right? Jesus is in his line because of Joseph. And that's the prophecy says that the future Messiah would come through the line of David. Okay? But here's the thing. You'd think, okay, wow, Joseph's got some really cool ancestors, right? He's David, he was the king, he's like one of the best kings, they loved him, right? But Joseph was just a poor carpenter. He really wasn't anybody special. He was just a poor carpenter. So Jesus, the Son of God, chose to be born to poor parents. Think about that for a moment. Jesus could have chosen to be born to anybody. And it would, for him, if he had picked rich parents, right? The people that lived in the palace or the mansion or whatever, that would have been fine. I mean, that would have been, he should have done that, right? I mean, he was worthy of that. But he didn't. He picked poor parents, a poor carpenter. Why? Have you ever thought about that? Why did Jesus choose them? It wasn't that he wasn't living in the lap of luxury. They didn't have a lot of influence. Why? And the answer is because he didn't come to be served. He came to serve. Jesus didn't come to be served. He didn't come so he would have servants. He didn't come so that he would live in the lap of luxury and he would have fields and parties and all that kind of stuff. He didn't come for that. He came to serve. Listen to this. In Matthew 20, verse 28, it says this, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. This is the purpose of Jesus' life. His whole purpose was to come to serve you and I. You see, he came because all of us on this earth deserve punishment for our sins. Is there anybody in here who who hasn't sinned? Right? I don't think so. I don't have my hand up, by the way. I've sinned. I'm just I have. We all have, right? The Bible literally tells us that all have sinned, all fall short of the glory of God. We've all blown it. We all have. And here's the thing. It only takes one sin to be in rebellion to God. And the punishment for that rebellion, God set this up long ago, that if you rebel against Him, then you get to spend eternity in a place called hell. He set that up. Hell was actually created for the enemy, right? The devil. And what did the devil do? He rebelled against God, right? So God said, that's where you're heading, right? And so He set this up. And then we rebelled. We sinned. And God has no choice. He's a just judge. He can't punish the devil and not punish us, right? Because we rebelled. And so we were heading towards that place called hell. But Jesus came so that He could take our punishment for us. When He died on that cross, that was Him taking all of our sin upon Himself and dying in our place so that we don't have to experience hell. That was His plan. That was His purpose. He came not to be served, but to serve you and I. So here's the thing. Shouldn't the focus of Christmas, shouldn't the focus be about serving others, not being served? I mean, if it's Jesus' birthday, shouldn't we celebrate it like He would want it to be celebrated? Can you imagine if you had a birthday and somebody decided for you how you were going to spend your birthday? They never asked you. They never did anything that you liked or wanted. They did it their way. Wouldn't that annoy you? But isn't that what we're doing? When we buy gifts for people that already have more than enough. Isn't that what we're doing? When we only buy gifts for people that we know are going to give us something in return. Don't get me wrong. I know my boys are sweating over here. Saying, "Whoa, I'm not going to get any presents this year?" What? I'm not saying it's wrong for us to give presents to people, even family members. I'm not saying that. But maybe we need to add some new traditions. Because we have the tree, right? I think most of us have a tree in our house, probably, right? And we put presents under the tree and we open them on Christmas morning, some of us on Christmas Eve. We have these traditions. It happens every year, right? But maybe we need to start adding some new traditions. Maybe we need to start doing something for somebody that can't do anything to us in return. Maybe we need to find somebody that we can minister to that's in need. Because don't you think that's what Jesus would have done? Give a gift to someone who doesn't have anything. Look for a way to minister to somebody. Because I think if we're going to celebrate His birthday, we should do it in a way that's going to make Him proud. Don't you? Jesus came to this earth to serve us. He didn't come to be served. You know, when I was younger, I kind of started picking this up. I think I was 17, 18. And I was really heavy into church. I was attending church all the time. I think I came back from a church service and I was just filled with the love of God, and it was Christmas time. And I think it was Christmas Eve, I'm not sure. But I came home to my parents' house and they were all in bed. It was late. And I just had so much, I just was filled with this love of God, but I wanted to express it, I wanted to do something, and yet I felt like something was missing, something was off. Because all the time before, all I kept thinking about was what was underneath that tree for me, right? What was I going to get? Were my parents going to finally get me the gift I want instead of what they wanted, what they thought I wanted? What was it going to be? And I realized something was missing, and I began to clue into this. And I realized, you know what? It doesn't matter what's underneath the tree. I've got enough. And I began to realize, you know what? Exactly what I've been saying here. Jesus didn't come to be served. He came to serve others. That's what Christmas should be about. And so I began to say, okay, well, how can I honor this? What can I do? And I realized I walked in the kitchen and there's dishes everywhere. And my first instinct was to turn back around and walk out, And then I realized, wait a second. If I walk away, my mom ends up doing it. Why do I have to wait for her to tell me or ask me or whatever? So I just began to do the dishes. I did them all. I didn't say anything about it. I just went to bed. That was something simple, something small. And I only share that with you because I want you to understand that I've been there too. I am there. I go through this every year. I forget what Christmas really should be about. And I start thinking about what's under the tree or what I'm going to get for these people or that person or whatever. And I lose sight of what it should be about. What it should be about. It should be about others. It should be especially about people who don't have anything. It should be about serving. Listen to this. Not only was Jesus, the Son of God, born poor, but practically nobody celebrated his birth. Think about this. The Son of God. Practically nobody was there. Look at Luke chapter 2, verse 1 through 7. The Bible says he took with him Mary, his fiancée, who was now obviously pregnant, and while they were there, the time came for her baby to be born. Here he is, the Son of God. He should have been celebrated. Now, I know you're probably going, well, there were some shepherds and there was some wise men, right? Right? We don't know how many wise men. They say 3, but we don't know, right? And yeah, that's true. But think about it. He's the Son of God. There should have been kings. Every single king in this world should have been bowing at his feet. It should have been the momentous day of the entire world, right? Entire history. The Son of God was born. And yet, only a handful of people really knew about it. Jesus was the Messiah everyone was waiting for. They should have had huge celebrations, but instead, he was born in virtual anonymity. Why? Why? Have you ever thought about that? Why did he do that? And the truth is because his focus wasn't on himself and what he deserved. It wasn't on what he deserved. He wasn't focused on himself. He was focused on helping us, you and I, get what we needed. We needed someone to save us from our sins. And that's what Jesus was there for. So think about that. If Jesus wasn't here, he didn't come, his birth wasn't about himself. It wasn't about the fanfare. It wasn't about the gifts being given to him and all that stuff. If that wasn't what it was about, then maybe it shouldn't be that way for us. Maybe it shouldn't be about us. Maybe it shouldn't be how well we're being treated. Maybe that shouldn't be the focus. How many times have you gone, like I just said, you go to Walmart and you get the crowds and somebody jostles you and you're just kind of like, you're mad, you're angry, right? How dare they treat you that way? But maybe it shouldn't be about how you're being treated. Maybe you should think about treating them the way Jesus would have treated them. Because here's the thing. Jesus came to this earth and he died for us while we were still sinners. We were basically worthless. We were his enemy. And he died for us. And that's why he came. That was his whole purpose. So maybe this Christmas, when somebody jostles you in the mall, or maybe they cut in line, or maybe they steal your parking space, instead of worrying about how you're being treated, maybe you need to start treating them with love, like Jesus treated us. Not only was Jesus born poor, with practically no celebration, but he had to be born in a barn. He's one of the only people that can leave the door open, right? Through his childhood. And his mom can't say anything, right? She can't say, weren't you born, what, were you born in a barn? He can say, yes, I was. I was born in a barn. But Luke 2:1-7 says this, she gave birth to her first child, a son. She wrapped him snugly in strips of cloth and laid him in a manger because there was no lodging available for them. Again, Jesus should have been born in a palace. He should have been born in the best palace that we on this planet Earth had to offer. He was the Son of God. He was the King of Kings. There is no one higher than him. Why didn't Jesus' accommodations matter to him? Why did he choose to be born in that squalor? It didn't matter to him because he had an earthly mom that loved him, an earthly dad who loved him. He had a heavenly Father who loved him. And because he loved you and I, you see, Jesus, he was content with what he had. He was content with what he had. He didn't need all that fanfare. He didn't need the palace. He didn't need all that stuff. He was content. That's something we struggle with at Christmas time, isn't it? I know it is for me. I don't know, maybe not for you, but the latest and greatest toys are out at this time, right? The new phones, the new video game, I mean, it's all there, right? And you just start going, oh man, I wish I had more money. I wish I could afford it. Man, if I just had a little bit more money, then I could start getting some of these things I really, really want. Have you noticed something about cell phones? Right? Kim, do you have your phone? Did you hear that? My wife said this is embarrassing, right? This is her phone. She broke her other one, right? We had a nicer one for her. She broke it. But you know what's funny? People used to stand in line outside of a building for these things. And you know what? It wasn't that long ago. We're talking maybe 2-3 years ago. This was the hot item. Right? Now, it's embarrassing.
That's my phone.
What's wrong with us? What we used to be so excited about and we'd stand in line for, now we're like, oh man, I've got the loser phone. I don't even want to take it out and answer my calls anymore because I don't want people to see it. Something's wrong. We're not content. Maybe we need to start looking at the things that we want and ask ourselves, is this something I really, really should want? You know what's funny too? These phones, they don't even change that much, right? Every so often they might get a little bigger or something, but a lot of times they don't even change. They get a couple little new features. And we're like, oh, mine's horrible. But that one, I need that one. Contentment. Contentment. That's what we need to have. You see, the problem is when we aren't content, then Christmas becomes all about us. I want. I need. But when we can finally say, you know what? I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I've got all I need. Then we can start focusing on somebody else and say, you know what? That person though, I know they don't have everything they need. I want to help them. I want to bless them. Maybe we need to start creating some of these new traditions where we start thinking those thoughts. We start looking around us for those kind of opportunities to bless somebody else. Somebody in need. We need to stop falling into that comparison trap. Let me give you a suggestion. Instead of making a list of what you want for Christmas, make a list of what you already have and then start thanking God about it.
Amen.
Say, God, thank you. Thank you for my phone. Thank you. Thank you for my family. Lord, thank you for all that you've provided. My house that I live in. You know, when you start doing that, you begin to realize how blessed you really are. That you have so much. You know, I asked my boys this year, I said, you know, what would you like for Christmas? Because my wife and I were struggling. We're like, I don't know what to get them, you know. And so I just happened to ask him, one of my sons, he says, you know, Dad, I'm good. I'm like, cool, we're going to save money this year. And he's all, whoa, I mean, there is one thing, you know. But it's true. I mean, my boys are blessed. They are. They're blessed. And I love the fact that they realize that. I know I need to realize that sometimes. Maybe you're the same. We need to realize that we're blessed and we have what we need. And maybe then we can start looking around and saying, but what about them? What about those people? Now here's the danger. Maybe you're saying to yourself, you're sitting here and you're shaking your head and you're going, yeah, because you feel like you're the one who's in need. And you're like looking around and say, yep. Pastor, you're talking about everybody looking around for somebody in need. I'm right here, right? But you know what? Even no matter how much in need you think you are, or you are, let's just say it that way, you are, you need to be thinking about others. Because think about that woman. It's the story of the widow's mite. Now I'm just going to tell you a story. I'm not going to read it. Jesus is in the temple. He's standing in front of the offering plate, right? Or the box is where they put the money. And he's watching as all these rich people put these bags of money in, right? And he's just staring at them. He's watching them, right? Nowadays, everybody would be offended, right? That the pastor's watching what I give, right? Everybody would be offended. But Jesus didn't care. He's watching them put the money in. And then there's this little widow woman. And she puts a couple pennies in the offering box. And Jesus stops everybody, stops his disciples and says, listen, I want you to pay attention to this right here. What this woman is doing, it's significant because she gave everything she had. Here's the thing, she gave a couple of pennies. You and I are probably going, that's not going to buy much, right? But Jesus is like, no, it's significant because it's the sacrifice. It's the sacrifice. It's not the amount, it's the sacrifice. And Jesus says she's going to be blessed for that. And he said the same thing about you and I. It's not about how much you can give. or what you give, it's the sacrifice. Maybe there's something you can do. So maybe if you're sitting here and you're going, Pastor, this is a great message, and that rich person next to me needs to hear this, right? You need to hear it. Because just like that widow's mite, you have something to offer. I don't know what it is. You have something that you can give. Christmas has become all about serving me. But Christmas is all about honoring Jesus on his birthday. So let's choose to honor him the way he would want to be honored this Christmas. Let me ask you to do something. One of three things, if not all of these things. I want you to make a commitment today to do one of these three things, or you can do all of them. I think that'd be awesome. The first one is do something or buy something for someone who can't or won't reciprocate. In other words, they're not going to give it back to you. You're going to buy them a gift, and you know you're not going to get anything back. Or you're going to do something for them, and you know they're not going to be able to do it back for you. You're just going to do something for them. Maybe you even do it anonymously. But do something for someone else. Next thing, make an effort to show the love of Jesus to everyone you come in contact with, despite how they treat you. In other words, that person in Walmart that bumps you, steals your parking space, all those kind of things, you say, you know what? I'm going to love on them. The third thing, make a list of what you have to be thankful for and set aside some time to say thank you to God. You know what's amazing? We could do all three of these things. But just pick one. Pick one and honor Jesus on his birthday. Because this is how he would want you to spend his birthday.